Welcome to my first writing video. In this video we're going to have a look at formality. First of all, let's see how formal each text you might be asked to write is. If we place them on this simple scale, the least informal of all will be an informal letter or email, which you usually write to your friend. Review, article and story are semi-formal, and the most formal ones are letter of application, report and essay. Many people might ask how we know that a text is formal. Formality is typically determined by grammatical structures you use and also by vocabulary. You can also remember a simple rule that the longer a word or a sentence is, the more formal it's likely to be. A simple example is a polite request where if you're talking to your boss and you want to ask about opening a window, you'd say, "Would you mind if I open the window?" Whereas if it was your friend, you'd just say, "Can I open the window?" You can see that the second sentence is much shorter than the first one. Now, let's have a look at features which are typical for informal text. A characteristic feature of informal language is using contracted forms. So instead of I am, cannot and do not, you should go for I'm, can't and don't. As for grammar, simple grammatical forms are more common, and if it's possible, it's okay to leave out certain words, so instead of I'm looking forward to hearing from you, just write looking forward to hearing from you. Regarding vocabulary, you should use common words which are used on a daily basis. You should also use simple linking words, some phrasal verbs, and it's also perfectly fine to use some idiomatic expressions, slang and neologisms. However, try to avoid using swear words and being rude in general. Even though you might use these words when chatting to your friends in real life, they're not appropriate for the exam texts. Now, let's move on to features of formal language. If you want to write a formal text, your sentences should definitely be complex. Passive is a grammatical structure which is commonly used in formal writing, together with modals such as would or could, and formal linking words such as therefore, furthermore and nevertheless. You should also avoid using contracted forms. As for vocabulary, there should be no slang and idiomatic expressions, and also remember that phrasal verbs are mostly informal. Of course, there are a few which can be used in formal texts, but if you're not sure it is so, it's better to completely avoid them. As for a semi-formal style, we could say that it's a combination of the previous two. You should still try to avoid using contractions, although if you use one or two in your text, it's not such a big problem. You can use some idiomatic expressions, but don't use any slang words. Also, phrasal verbs are fine. Just remember that your text should still have kind of polite and respectful tone. At the end, I've got for you two letters to compare so that we put the theory into practice. You can see that the letter on the right is formal, while the other one is supposed to be informal. That's something you can tell from the greeting. If you look in the first paragraph, there's thanks a lot in the informal one and thank you very much in the formal version. In this case, we can apply our rule, the longer the more formal, which is also applicable in the following pair. It was great to hear and I very much appreciated. Also, the word anyway is an expression which you should never use in a formal text. The other expressions where one of them is formal are ask and request, leave and depart, and go and attend. You can see that for the informal text, we use vocabulary which is common in everyday conversation. That's about it. If you enjoyed the video, please click on subscribe and don't forget to check my First Writing Facebook page where you can find more tips on exam writing.